Andreas. Thanks for having us here in Helsinki. And I wanted to start also by saying thank you to you, Hannah, for showing us also the impressive things in Finland and what Finland is doing when it comes to security, but not only Finland itself as a state, but the citizens are doing to ensure not only their security, of course, yes, but the security of the European Union as a whole. We are all together within the European Union. And protecting the infrastructure is not just a matter for those member states which are directly connected or directly concerned, also like Finland and other member states bordering the Baltic Sea, for instance. But after all, this is a European Union infrastructure altogether, and it concerns, of course, all member states. And the cable incidents that we have witnessed in the Baltic Sea could happen in any other places as well throughout Europe. And this is actually the spirit and also the intention of the joint communication, whether that comes in the form of EU funding, for instance, under the Cyber Solidarity Act, or through investments in cable infrastructure to bolster resilience on the one hand, but security altogether. And our European Union, I think, is closer together than ever than it was in the last years. We see it in the volume of internal trade on the one hand, but we see it also on the commitment to solidarity with Ukraine in the face of Russia's aggression. And on these issues we can and we have already delivered and already acted also jointly. And now we must take this joint action we're talking about today when it comes to internal security on the one hand, but also preparedness and also defense. And what does that joint action mean in our view? I think here joint action means first and foremost that we have to see these areas as linked areas. They are all linked together and are linked with each other, as attacks on undersea cables show actually quite clearly. The line between also internal security and external security and external threats also is increasingly blurred, and this is also why this joint communication is complementary also to some other strategies like the internal security strategy we're going to present end of March. Secondly, joint action also means working together to identify threats on an early stage, very early. That is important by bringing also together a wide coalition of actors, the governments on the one side, the private sector, the citizens all together, and they must all buy into this process. In both, I think, the joint communication, but also the internal security strategy, I think we must place a lot of emphasis also on the external dimension of security, and also on the cooperation altogether with our international partners. That is very crucial, I would say, for identifying, but also, of course, for countering hybrid threats, which evolve quite quickly and challenge also our existing approaches. Thirdly, what does joint action means? I think it means also preventing threats together by using our size as a European Union, our position as a union to make sure security is actually reflected in everything we do. And lastly, joint action, in my opinion, also means responding to the threats we're facing all together by enhancing the already very good cooperation we have between our law enforcement authorities. That is also a very important point in that respect. They need to have actually the capacity also to act quickly in the face of these hybrid threats, such as attacks on infrastructure that cross land or also maritime borders, of course. And that in turn means also improving the cooperation on intelligence data. That's sometimes forgotten. Data sharing is very important, and setting up also new communication systems, also when it comes to protecting the submarine cables. So we took a lot with us from Finland, from our trip to Finland, I would say it was very impressive to see the level of preparedness and the level of security in Finland. I think this security first approach has to apply in all other member states as well. The security first mindset we should have in all member states, and we saw that, of course, in Finland. And when it comes to what we take back to Brussels from our trip to Finland, I think it's definitely, when it comes to the security first mindset and security and preparedness altogether, that we need more Finland in Europe.
Thank you very much, Vice President and Commissioners. So we can turn to questions now. I would kindly ask you to introduce yourselves and the media that you represent, and also to whom your question is addressed. Please.